So I've rather intentionally not taken a closer look at Juniper until now. And there are a few reasons for that. One of them being I didn't want to make the same mistake or reach the same conclusions as I did with the original Model 3, which is I saw it on the road very early, and then I looked at it and drove it and evaluated it very early. And because I did so, I would submit that it's possible that my decision or my evaluation or my opinion was sort of a rush to judgment, in the sense of we all know that Tesla has teething issues, as does every car company. So in the interest of being as fair as possible to Model Y for this, what they're calling a new model, but is clearly a refresh, is I just took a little longer this time. And I'm okay with that. Kind of glad I did so. But the things that I notice about this car, even just sitting here stationary, that confound me are it's not so much how things are assembled at this point. It's the decisions that are being made on what is assembled. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It's at the same time that they say that they're going for more refinement, which is long overdue and perhaps too little too late, we could argue, in the case of something like the Model 3 Highland. And there are consequences to that, I would argue, from having driven Model 3 Highland in a couple forms. And I wonder if that's not the same case here with Juniper, but I digress. My point is, the vehicles were accused, I believe rightfully, of feeling cheap in their last generation. And some of that was from how they drove. They drove like a substantially less expensive car than they are in the marketplace. Fair. So they did what they should have done in the first place, and they corrected that mistake. Problem is, in the process, and here's where I get frustrated with Tesla, is like it's very much a case of like one step forward, two steps back, because the feedback on the stock aside, they did rectify that mistake by not making it again on Juniper. They deserve credit there. But generally speaking, I'd say that with the exterior and the interior, it manages to look cheaper and seem cheaper than it did before. And before, it already felt and appeared too cheap. It manages to feel more anonymous, more bland, more China's gonna eat my lunch. What do? I just seem as generic as possible. I don't think that's the strategic move you make as a designer, as a company. And the kitsch and the chintz of we'll just throw more light bars on it. Like, I respect Franz a lot as a person. I respect his character. I respect his passion. I think he's a great person to talk to in person. I've had the opportunity to do so on a few occasions at this point. But this is not issue with Franz or with anyone personally on the team. It's just, what are you thinking when you design a car that feels so cobbled together, not in the assembly necessarily, but in the intention itself, which to me is even more of a cancer on a car company. So the crookedness of this wheel as it sits here in one of the showrooms, the crookedness of the owner, those things are minor details compared to should this car have money sucked out of it at a time when the Chinese and I would say the Japanese and everyone else are pouring money into their cars. The Volkswagen ID products are getting richer and richer. I think the problem is a lot of companies followed Tesla down the cost cutting path, and those that continue to do so will end up where Tesla is, which is at the back of the pack, trailing the pack, nowhere close to being able to finish on the podium. And those who go in the other direction and give people more value for their money, the Chinese seem to be doing a great job with that. Look at the BYD seal as an example of that, and some others. It's just depressing to see leadership given up like this. Not that it's specific to Tesla. I'm just talking to my next door neighbor about BMW and how I was one of the people who took advantage of BMW's laziness in repositioning Audi as a modern day alternative to BMW, what BMW used to be. Because at that time, Audi was trying harder than BMW. Then, of course, Audi gets a little overconfident. They stop trying, right? It's just this stupid game of musical chairs and Russian roulette combined. So car companies, not that you're listening to my YouTube channel, some of you are listening to me in the boardrooms. Some of you actually let me be honest with you. And I hope that the companies that are honest with themselves will take advice like this, take thinking like this to heart, and give consumers more and get the rewards from that instead of this race to the bottom that Tesla seems to be so intent on winning. If you spend time with Highland, with Juniper, with Cybertruck, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is this a fair assessment? I'm trying to give Tesla as much benefit of the doubt as I possibly can. I'm not getting into the robotaxi debacle. I'm not getting into the Cybertruck launch. I'm not getting into personal stuff or political stuff with Elon himself. It's just, I think there's a strategic problem with this company that will not be fixed when you have it run by someone who is so obsessed with the stock price at the expense of every single other thing. And it forces every part of the organization and every part of the fan base to be concerned with that above everything else too, and then make excuses for the shortcomings that it requires. That might be overly simplistic. Let me know what you think. Thanks for joining.